This is the Conrad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
For 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I'm Toolman Tim. Today is June the 25th, 2023. This is episode 330 of Workshop Radio. How the hell is everyone out there this evening? Always good to have you. In just a couple of minutes, we got Prepper Rob coming on to talk about life coaching and all that is to be found in finding your destination in life. But real quick, before we bring him on, he's waiting in the wings in the green room. We're going to get the announcements out of the way, and then we're going to have some fun here, guys. So first off, Sunday evening, remember our sponsor. That is my good friend Amy Dingman from A Farmer's Kind of Life. If you are looking to be motivated while being smiled at, Amy is the one to talk to or listen to. She puts out some incredible content. She's moved to more short form stuff, so her podcast is kind of in that 15 to 20 minute range once a week at this point. She's made some real changes in her life, and it's been inspiring to see it happen. I love seeing somebody who can get shit done and get it done even when it's difficult. She does it with a smile. So give her a chance. Go over to farmerskindoflife.com or add her in your podcast, because she supports our podcast, and I've listened to her long before I was ever a content creator. So next, guys, if you've heard about Jenny Hill, she is an extended member of the workshop family. She's really an active member of the Living Free in Tennessee community. She's going through some serious health challenges. I don't know what else to call it. She's been open about it. So if you want to know more about it, you can check her out on social. But the thing is, some really cool people behind the scenes put together an auction to help support her because she can't work for quite some time. It's going to be a week from tonight. Nicole from Living Free in Tennessee, are going to be doing the hosting. It's going to be a 4-hour. You can go ahead of time. The link's in the description below. jennyhill.livingfreeintennessee.com. There's some pretty cool stuff in there. Chris Dixon from the workshop community just donated a 3-piece hand-forged toolkit for a fireplace, and it's gorgeous. Anyway, if you want to support out a friend and you want to do what we do best in the workshop community and as anarchists, libertarians, whatever you want to call it, give that a go, guys. And finally, don't forget the Patch of the Month Club. We just picked up a new subscriber earlier this week. You know who you are, and I really appreciate you. I just wanted to fill you in that I'm getting ready to send out the patches on Tuesday. Be heading down to Montana Tuesday morning. So if you want to get on the list for this month's patches, tomorrow's the cutoff. So go to patchofthemonth.co. $10 a month, $100 a year. But one really cool thing that just came out of all of this is Sean Mills reached out to me. You guys know he's doing a Kickstarter for his solar pump testing. Anyway, so since he's done so well with the Kickstarter, he added some stretch goals, and there's a new reward level. Anyway, anybody who's already donated $70 or more is going to get one of the patches from the Patch of the Month Club. It's going to be 1 or 2 months down the road when we get them out there. And there's going to be a special way that you can buy a heavily discounted 3-month entry-level subscription to Patch of the Month. So go by, check out Sean's Kickstarter. And with that, we got all the housekeeping out of the way. So let's bring on Mr. Rob in the background. Hey, Prepper Rob, how are you, brother?
Greetings. Doing great.
Good. How's the weather been your way?
Oh, we had storms, but it's finally warming up here in Kentucky and Indiana.
And what's your definition of warm?
86 and muggy.
Yeah. We had muggy today. First muggy day in a while. And on the prairies, you get so used to dry heat that when it gets muggy, it's a little unbearable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We got Lots Project out there, Chuck Peoples, Rachel Brown, Hosk, Byron Roberts. Good to have y'all one step closer. So this is your return trip. I look back, it's been about 14 months since you've been on. Well, what was called the Workshop Podcast is now Workshop Radio. So tell us a little bit about who you are, Rob, and what brings you here, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm 57 years old, been married for 30 years. We have a 22-year-old nonverbal autistic child. So I started off in prepping because I was worried about what would happen with a shit hits the fan situation. I got into prepping 7 years ago, but now, like if China invades Taiwan and all this medicine that he's on a whole bunch of medicine.
Well, sure.
And he's on one that I call it, he's had catatonia for 5 years before it was, I think it may have just been figured out when we were talking last, but he would run around the house and bite his arm and try to gag and all dump drinks out, shove tapes in and out of the VCR. And so we finally figured it out when the doctor retired and the new doctor come on, who was a psychiatrist, where the other doctor was a developmental pediatrician. So she said, oh, that's catatonia. Here, put him on this medicine. And then when the Norton Hospital here in Kentucky got hacked, then it threw everything into a pickle. And you have a prior authorization and prescriptions and all this stuff. And we couldn't get the medicine. And he started going back into the catatonia when he was off for a week.
So is there a way that you can, keep a little extra of that on hand, or is it a fairly controlled substance that you can't?
That one is a fairly controlled substance, but I was talking to Todd at the prepper, at the church guy. I'm blanking on his channel, Redefined Your Mission. But
Okay.
anyway, I was on chat with him, and one of his guys, Brian, sent me a link to where I can get medicines. So that's what I'm going to work on, trying to get these prescription medicines another way, or try to find some herbal remedies that would help with that.
So one thing I asked you before we got started, I wanted to save it, but I had to ask you. But anyway, we love our side hustles around here.
Yeah.
And you got a pretty cool side hustle. We got a lot of new listeners in the last year.
Right.
So fill us in on how that came about, because I love hearing it.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good thing for me to advertise, that I do toilet tank lids, and I sell them all over the country. I can sell them to your Canadian customers too. But that started, my dad always saved the toilet tank lids, and I figured out, well, maybe there's a way to make money. And I've been scheming for a long time. How can I make money? Well, I started selling them on eBay, and I'm making about $15,000 a year. And it's great because I can sell them out of the family business in between doing other things. So what I do is I've got guys that I buy them from for about $5 each, and some want $10 each, and some guys give them to me. And so I've been collecting them. And after a while, you get pretty good at it. A guy can walk up with the lid under his elbow, and I can tell what it is just by looking at it. And so I've got a big inventory of the toilet tank lids. I'll see if I can put that in the chat, if I can do two things at once without losing you. But it's a great deal. So it inspired me, because now I'm on a roll. If I can do this, then I can, I'm going to make money, because once you get the bug, I've killed it and I've dragged it home all on my own. I started making money doing this. So now, because what I did is I started off saying like $40. I thought, well, I'll just sell them for $40. But I got lucky. I could change that out. So I sell them for $50 to $100. The Holy Grail one's $110. And so
that's incredible. So a single toilet lid you can sell for as high as $110 at this point, eh?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Most of them are about $80. And when you think about that, for my company to come out and replace that toilet, it's going to be $400. Right. And you can go buy a toilet for $120 and put it in yourself if you can. So, but if you're not handy, then you're gonna give me whatever, $80, $20 for shipping. You're gonna give me $100, because then you can take that out of the box, put it on there, and be done with it. Right. And I get a lot of people that are trying to sell their house or get their deposit back. They're having a party, and they've, the guest bathroom, and and they took one from another. What's great about a lot of people they have the same toilet. Oh, I threw it away. Well, you got one in the other house. Oh, it's the same lid. Yes, bring me that lid. Let's look at it.
I'm going to share Rob's, just in case anybody ever sees it. I'm going to share in the comments tonight. So what I love about that is the simple fact that you have looked at you've looked at what you have around you. You've looked at the business you work in, which is, plumbing and that sort of thing. Right. You've looked at something that's typically a waste, and you've turned it into not just an income, but, a significant portion of an income. Hey?
Yeah, it is. It's glorious. And I saved a lot of the when you go to the website, the picture is on of the colored lids, and I don't sell many of them, maybe a couple a year, but it makes a great display.
Well, sure.
I've got the colored lids I got 1980s colors, and then I got one. Just turned backwards. It's a cast iron lid from 1934. So I just got it as a display, and I hung them up on U-bolts and that way I can quickly look at them, because most of my sales are on eBay, but I do have one time a week people will just come to the shop and they can say, well, will this fit? No, I look at the display. They're all different. There's no universal one. They don't almost fit.
Ain't that the truth? Because almost fits is almost worse than nothing. Because it sits there rocking, you roll back, I know me, I sit back and all of a sudden it pops off, and porcelain on porcelain's never a good thing, right?
No.
I know I didn't bring you on, but I got to ask you, I don't think I asked you last time, but have you learned any tips or tricks that makes an eBay store a little easier for you over the years?
Not really. I think it's a matter of picking something that everybody needs, because like Angie Marie is selling, she's selling some prepper items, but a lot of, and American Picker stuff, and she's got an Etsy store, but it's a matter of just picking something that you like, because I haven't done anything to the store. I just took the template, threw it up there. I don't advertise or anything, because the people come to me. So to go in another direction on your question, one of the fears is that eBay, I mean, I'm talking about eBay, but could I be canceled? Could they say, well, Rob's a conservative, I can't handle that? All these corporations, like there was a guy that was on Fox News a lot who was debanked because he was an intelligence official in the Trump administration. And they just, somebody wrote in, well, you ought to get rid of this guy. And so that worries me. So I do have I can put them on Facebook Marketplace. There's other sites, but I've got all my eggs tied up in eBay, and that makes me nervous.
Sure. I get it. I think everybody who works on the internet thinks about that a little bit, and it's worth at least exploring the idea of having multiple backup plans. That's actually something I've been working kind of in the back of my head lately, because it's true. You work on a business, and the idea is you want to bring in as many customers as you can. And it's the same with income streams, but then eventually you find 2 or 3 that work really well. Those are your bread and butter ones. And if you lost one, you'd feel kind of bad, or it would hurt. Right. And that's the way with eBay. So a person has to find that balance between, the good income streams, but not having all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of expanding the size of your basket, you're doing, you call it prepper life coaching, is it?
Yeah.
What in the world is that? What is that, brother?
Well, what it is I started with Prepper Presentations. That was my website, and I've changed that to the Prepper Life Coach because I wanted to make money in prepping, and so how can I duplicate what I did with the toilet tank lids with prepping? How can I make money doing this? So I did. So I put together the website. It's a resource website where you can go, and new preppers can go and they can learn about prepping, and experienced preppers can go. And you've got If you want a foot up the butt, you go to Jack Spirko. If you want somebody nice, you can go to you and Amy Dingman and the survival mom, Lisa Bedford. So
Sure.
it depends on what you want. And then, do you want YouTube videos? Do you want podcasts? Do you want books? Do you want videos? I've got all the different formats all in one place. And my goal is, if you go to my website one time and never come back, that's fine, because you've got on to the other things. And so I never was able to make any money on that. And then I finally perfected my application process, and I got on Jack Spirko, and I still never made any money off that. So so I was thinking, okay, what can I do? And the family business is getting more long in the tooth. I'm 57 years old, married for 30 years with a 22-year-old autistic child. So I started thinking about life coaching, because I love to talk. I love people. Hey, I'll be the prepper life coach, because I also thought about a blue collar life coaching, because family business and blue collar. So I'm trying to combine all this stuff together. Now, how I'm marketing this is that I was talking to a mentor, and she said, I don't know what you do. You threw out all three of those things. What do you do? And how can you help me? I'm getting nervous here. So
Sure.
with you prepper guys that are open-minded, I can throw all things out, and the tank lids too. Oh, I need a tank lid. I've got my cousin. He's in a family business. He wants to quit. He wants to go and say, give me my money. No, don't do that. So I can help him, and I can help. So I'm trying to combine all these things into life coaching. I'm going to cast a wide net here on those three different types. So, but when I narrow it down for preppers, then let's do that. Let's do two different nets. Let's say I'm casting for the new prepper who is scared to death. And so they go to the website, and what I want to do is, don't go out and spend a bunch of money. Don't run out and get bug out bags, bug out locations. Don't go into debt. And really, I hope Jack's not listening, but I think prepping is 80% Dave Ramsey and 20% Jack Spirko, because you have to have a foundation of financial maturity. And Dave Ramsey says, well, when you look in the mirror, you got to talk to who you put makeup on and shave with. That's the person you got the problem with. Can you resist the desire for immediate gratification? So can you be open-minded, constructive criticism? So you do that, and then we'll take that into prepping. So that's life coaching. So I just realized I've been life coaching people for years. And so that's what I'm going to do. I've been taking classes. And one of the neatest things that I learned when you talk to people, which we could apply to prepping, is the latest thing is there's three ego states. That there's the dictator, closed-minded parent, and then there's the adult that's open-minded, and then there's a child that wants to play and have fun. So and you alternate back and forth between all of them. When you and I are talking about uninterrupted power supply for your studio,
right?
We're two kids talking shop. That's great. So when you're the adult and you're working with your guys you're working with, okay, guys, we got to do this. We're going to do this, this, and this. Okay, let's go do it. We're all working together. But if you've got a new employee that's complaining, or because he doesn't want to do it, or he's arguing with you, then he's the child, you're the adult. And you say, I hear that. Now, we've got to work together here. I'll take your idea. We'll think about it later. Right now, I'm anxious. We've got to do this job right now. We'll talk about that later. But if you were in the dictator parent boss type, you'd say, you're fired. I can't handle this. I can't. Everything's got to be my way. Even though he may say, boss, the truck's about to roll down the hill. Don't interrupt me. I'm trying to think. But boss, the truck is rolling down the hill. So let's slide back just a little.
Right. Because I like this, and this kind of leads into where we're heading with it.
Yeah.
But you said, and I don't think Jack would disagree with you at all, but you said prepping's 80% Dave Ramsey,
right,
and 20% Jack Spirko. So here's the thing. I bet there's a lot of people out there who don't know who the hell either of them are, which is okay. Most people are going to know who Jack is, but because you said a lot of new preppers come to preparedness and they say, because they're scared. I always say that. It's something that's got them twisted up inside because they know they need to do something. But most people, like you said, they want to go to bug out logo. They want to spend. Everybody says, just let me spend a bunch of money and I'll feel better, right? So what does that mean, that 80% Dave Ramsey? Because that's the part that a lot of people don't even talk about. It's not so sexy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what that is 80% Dave Ramsey. It ties into my belief or my life. It's a prepper thing that I was doing, and I'm going to incorporate into life coaching, that you need to work on your immaturity when it comes to your mind, body, spirit, bank account. So Dave Ramsey will start you off. Let's do financial maturity. Okay, well, let's add that to spiritual. Let's add that to be open-minded. You're open-minded. Whether you're religious or not, you can say, I'm going to turn it over to God and a higher power. I'm going to let God decide. I don't have to decide. So you work on that, and you say, okay, I've got to lay it on the table, my health. I want to have a double cheeseburger for breakfast. I want to eat all this stuff. I can't eat out. Every time we're eating something unhealthy, then we're in the child stage, and that's fine. That's fine. But we have we have to stand. We have to stand in the adult and say, okay, I'm going to apply Dave Ramsey advice to every area of my life, my mind, my body, my spirit, my bank account, my spiritual stuff, and my mental stuff. Can I be open-minded? Am I open to the possibility 200 years from now, I get to heaven? I say, God, what percentage I was right? And he's going to pat me on the head and said, you were 80% wrong, 10% right, and 10% either way is fine. So what I do is I lay on the table that I could be wrong about everything, and I don't know for sure. I let go and let God decide. So when you get into, what Dave Ramsey, so that's what so he's talking about financial stuff, and let's do the debt snowball. Let's go with Dave Ramsey. Let's talk about what he talks about is cutting up all your credit cards and only using cash. Let's set a budget. Let's deny yourself. And
so practical things is what you're getting. You mean I don't need an underground bunker? I should fix my credit first?
You don't need an underground bunker. Atlas Shelters, Engineer 775, there's a whole series on it.
Oh, yes.
You can look at that up, and that's exciting and that's interesting. Don't do that. I mean, you can if you got money to burn and it makes you feel better, but new preppers don't do that.
That's good. I love that, because the cool thing, what I like about the idea of, financial maturity and Dave Ramsey's advice is that it makes your life better no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. So okay, so say I'm a new, a young person who just came to you and said, I'm a little concerned about the ongoings in the Russia-Ukraine, whatever it happens to be. You pick anyway, I need help. I think I need to get a year's worth of supply of food to get started, and a self-sustaining, off-grid bug out location. Where are you going to start with me? What are you going to tell me? What are the first few pieces of practical advice that you can kind of offer?
Well, I tell them to go to the everything's $1.25 and go up and down the aisle and get one of everything, not literally, but like the medicine aisle. Then you get those packages are only 10 pills in that box. So you just grab a whole bunch of those. So you start off with your medical stuff. Your aches and pains, your sleep aids, your Tums, and because who knows what we'll be eating when the shit hits the fan. But so just gather up all that stuff, and then you get laundry detergent, and I want to limit my trips to the grocery store. I want to have a pantry. I want to have all this stuff. So that way you make money, you save money by not going to the store. You save gas, you save wear and tear on your car. You don't, instead of being tempted by the grocery or tempted by eating out, you're going to say, well, I got to make prepper stew like they do at prepper camp, the guys on top of the hill that do. And so you practice your prepper stew. Now, how would I make this for a whole bunch of people? Well, I'm going to practice my prepper stew, and then I'm going to freeze that. So on my website, if you go into hot topics, because I put this all in one page, and the Wix people said, no, you got to divide it up in each individual blog post. So on my website, look for hot topics, and and you just scroll down there and grab one that speaks to you. So that's what you should do first. You should have $1,000 in the bank and get current, and just $1,000 emergency fund minimum, and then set a goal of having 6 months of paychecks in the bank. Dave Ramsey says, expenses. People don't understand expenses. Say paychecks. Like if you lose your job, well, okay, I can goof around and figure out what I want to do for 3 months. I got money in the bank. I got food in the house. So it's more of shifting away from living paycheck to paycheck. And
I want to throw this up here. Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck just said, Chuck Peoples?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good brother. I really appreciate him. Says, I can't stress enough about sticking over-the-counter meds, prescription meds that may be needed, and hygiene products. Said poor hygiene could be the thing that could kill you. Right. And that seems like a pretty low-hanging fruit, hey? Like like you said, go to Dollar Tree or Family Dollar or whatever one you want to call it. And what would be a few of the things you'd start with, do you think?
Well, what I would start with is, he said hygiene items. I mean, my wife and I are beyond childbearing years, but I've got a lot of those lady things. I've got a whole tub full of it. It's all sealed. It's all ready. And because that's a good point. You're not going to die from a gunshot wound. You're going to die from an infection. And so you got to have, and save all your medicines. Like if you don't finish your medicine, then put it in save all your prescription medicines, because you'll be able to trade stuff. Because what's going to happen is that when the shit hits the fan, then people are going to run out of medicines they take daily. You'll have a guy run into your house with a knife who's bipolar, that's off his lithium. That's the first person you're going to have to shoot. So if you've got some extra lithium, if you've got extra medicines, then you can trade back and forth.
So what about somebody? So you got a new prepper that comes to you, or whomever that's looking for some help. But the big thing they say is, I'd love to do more, but my wife thinks I'm an idiot. Or my husband says, what in the world are you talking about, this prepping thing? You need to worry about keeping food on the table, or a roof over our head.
Yeah, I mean, that ties into the life coaching thing. That's one of the prepper life coach is going to help guys whose wife does not want to prep. And how do you do that? So what I would do is I would first tell the guy that this may never happen. She may not ever understand what you're talking about. You may not have a marriage like Jack and Dorothy Spirko or Doc Bones and Nurse Amy. That may not happen. You may, when you're all in heaven, she's going to come to you and say, thank you. She's going to put your arms around it and give you a big hug and say, I'm sorry. I didn't understand when we were alive that you were protecting me and the children. I'm sorry. I did not understand. So think about that and let go of the idea of changing your wife with your magic wand to be like these prepper wives that we see. And so what you do is so that's the service that I would offer as prepper life coach, is that I would be a person that's not crazy, to say, there's another guy on here that does this for a living. Can you and I talk to him? Will you sit down there? Let's get him on Zoom. And what I'll do is I'll take all the arrows. What I would do is if let's say she's mad about guns and she's mad about, let's say she's a person on the left. Well, I'll take all that and feed it back to them and do life coaching to get them to think outside the box. That's one service that I can do. The other thing that a guy has to do is to think about trading, is that a guy can say, okay, what I want to go to prepper camp. So what we'll do is we'll all go together, and then let's go together. You and the kids stay at the hotel with the pool, instead of going to the top of the anthill with the prepper guys to drink prepper, eat prepper stew and drink and tell lies and do all that. I'm going to come back. I'll be back at 5:00, and you can go shopping. So you go shopping in town. You can pick up stuff that they don't have in our town. You go shopping, I'll stay with the kids. So you've got to, and you can say, look, she says, we got to go to cousin Gertrude's wedding in the country. That's an all day that's shot. You can say, I will go. I will be happy. I won't be my draggy normal self, but what I will do, but if I promise to be happy and go to this funeral, wedding. I said the wrong thing.
But for some people, they're the same damn thing.
Well, yeah, so okay. But either way, but I promise to be happy if you will go with me to the gun range. I hate guns. No, it's just a trade. You know how bad I was at cousin Etzel's wedding. Now, I'm going to do the same damn thing. I'm going to be grumpy, but let's go to the gun range and let's go to let's go sit at the picnic table with all the old timers and let you absorb gun culture. Well, so it's a trade-off. So sometimes you just have to be gentle, and then you trade, and then the same thing, like it's most of the time it's guys, but it could be ladies. Ladies can say, how to get my husband into doing this? Mm-hmm. He loves to play video games. Well, it's the same trade-off. You sit down there and say, look, teach me how to play this game. You have togetherness. Instead of fighting each other, what can you do together? So you play the video games with him. And then you say, help me build these raised beds. Help me build up shelves. Let's work together on this. And then you kind of think, okay, what's he interested in? And you think, well, what type of prepper hobby would you like? And and instead of saying, pick out a prepper hobby so we can do it together, be quick about it. No, you just kind of ask, don't ask, what is a prepper hobby? I don't have one. I don't want to do this stuff. So you have to do gentle manipulation from a place of gold instead of shadow, like used car salesmen and politicians. But it's the same thing. You're trying to gently manipulate them into doing something good by be gentle than a trade, words of wisdom. Right. Thank you.
I got to tell you, that's going to be some of the nicest, sweetest advice I think I've heard from anybody in 330 episodes of the show, because it was true. Like,
thank you.
And I could hear it. It's coming out of 30 years you've been married, right? Or a little longer. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I've heard it before, but you put it in such a way, like, I mean, you're not that much older than me, but the fact that you said, hey, maybe you need to play the video game with the husband first. And that, because that's not something everybody wants to do, mm-hmm. but that's really good, man. Yeah. I think you got a gift there for that, because mm-hmm. it is, a relationship is always a trade, right? Right. And you might as well be trading for things that you can both benefit from. Right. And I like that. That's really good, man, as opposed to treating it as two opposites trying to fight over something. Yeah. Try to find some middle ground, even if you do have to go to your cousin's wedding, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, you can do that, and then you can phrase it with, look, I want to pay off the house. I want to be out of debt. And then if you can get them onto that, and then if you got that, there's Dave Ramsey says there's the geek and there's the free spirit. So you've got to figure out which one are you, and how do you work with your spouse onto all that. So you keep on going, and you make it, and
So, I guess, the trade end of things, but any other kind of tips that you would say? Because I think, maybe we don't talk about this a lot in the end of prep, in prepping in general, but just tips for a positive relationship, or for having a 30-year plus marriage that works, that mm-hmm. you both get along, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What you do there, marriage is for better or for worse. And when we have an autistic child, my wife works second shift, and we go forward, and we learned how to do conflict resolution, which is another thing. That's the big thing about prepper life coaching, is that, and that's what I was trying to explain. There was a couple of our more rowdy guys in the chat were saying, well, I know all this stuff. Why do I need a life coach? You're not going to make any money in life coaching. And I went on to explain exactly what I'm telling you. And they gave me a thumbs up, and they understood there. But that's what it's, I can help with, I can't, what I can do is that is I can help with the I can make life coaching. I can go deeper than you do in the prepper chat, because the prepper chat is just it's friendly and you're helping each other. You might hold each other a little bit accountable, but it's not all the time. So with me, I'm going to hold you accountable to your goals and your projects. And in marriage, let's talk about this. Let's figure out, how can you get along with your spouse? How do you resolve conflicts? Like, there is no retaliating, or retreating. Retaliating says, well, how can you say that when you did this? You don't do that. You don't retreat. I don't want to talk about this. You think back to how the joy you had when you, and the butterflies, when you first got together and you first got married. You were so excited. And then on your wedding day, and you've been married 30 years, you're more in love now than on your wedding day. So how can we go back to that? How can we maximize that? How can we avoid stress? How can we handle day-to-day operations so if we've got lots of money in the bank, then when an opportunity comes up, we can do it. We don't have to worry, how are we going to pay for this? We've got an emergency fund. We've got a chance to buy the property next door. We've got a chance to buy a prepper gear. We got a chance to buy a pop-up camper, put it in the backyard, throw a tarp on it. We can fix it up and then have it as a backup, as a bug out thing. And if we choose not to use it, then we'll sell it down the road. But you have money and you have opportunities. And also, what's great about the skills you have with your wife, your partner, then and having a stress-free as possible life with your kids and grandkids, when the shit hits the fan, and the terrorists knock out the power to East Coast power grid, or the blue states in the U.S., the red states leave the United States, then okay, like with prepper, special needs families got to realize that may mean they may lose the Medicaid payments. So let's think about all this stuff. So when a bad thing happens, let's say the shit hits the fan, there's no power for 2 years, you got all these crazy people flipping out, and you're trying to establish a compound, like I'm going to have to do, to help the special needs children, to help the elderly. I'll take care of the kids during the day. You all go out and do your thing. I'll provide, 2 meals a day. I'll wash laundry in exchange for you guard the compound. So we do all this stuff, but the first thing I got to get everybody to do is you need to calm down. The flipper outers, they've got to calm down. The guys that think they know everything, how we're going to do it. We all got to calm down here. And so that's skills that we'll be doing. And one of the best things, I need to get some used vest, some bulletproof vest, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all the ladies do the guard duty, because they will shoot to kill. They won't hesitate. Guys will hesitate. They'll think, well, maybe I can talk to the guy. And so the guys, they're going to be inside the house. They're going to be teaching the kids about merger and acquisitions and changing diapers and scrubbing poop. So that's what the guys will do. One thing I found when you said calm down, what I find really helps is when I look my wife straight in the eye and tell her to calm down. That quite often. Yeah. No, I'm just being a smart ass. But no, I know what you mean. But I wanted to bring this up here, Gunfighter, and I thought this was pretty cool. He said, I'll have my wife watch a romantic, tragic movie where somebody dies. And I say, wow, a tourniquet would have fixed that. And it worked for me. She took a medical class. Right. Great. And so one thing for us, and, my wife has been on board with prepping from day one, because, we came out of being very, very poor. Yeah. But we still have to make concessions with one another. If I want her, this is funny you mentioned this, but if I want her to come to prepper camp with me, there's no sleeping in a tent for her, so she will stay in a hotel somewhere. I'll probably stay in a tent on site, but it works. If you want to, I think you're right in all of that. I know you are. That kind of the key to all of it is a good give and take. Hey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what about? So do you think this prepping, life coaching? Do you think there's enough demand in there to turn it into another toilet lid business? I think there is. If I continue with the preppers, if I keep on pushing what I just said all along, I think that, I hope so. And I don't know what's going to take off. That's why I'm casting a wide net to do the other things. But if I think that there's got to be everybody, it's like, I think that it's like Instagram. Everybody says, oh, that's all fake. Well, we can do some fake stuff. We can put on a happy face when we're on the chat, or we go to the chat to escape the problems that we got, and we want to be happy. Well, what's underneath that? So yeah, I believe there's money to be made in this. Everybody can use life coaching. Another thing that a lot of my therapist people believe is that everybody should go to their head shrinker, their psychiatrist, and their life coach once a year. And I think it's part of good mental health. So when I bring that to the prepper community, I mean, a lot of these guys, well, I figured it all out. Well, have you? Let's push. What goal do you have that's keeping you from going forward? What roadblocks are you putting ahead? Like, I want to do this, this, and this. There may be a piece that you're missing. And see, I'm not worried about hurting your feelings. I'm not your friend. I'm friendly, but I'm not your friend. Sure. So you can fire me if you get mad, but if you've got an issue that you want to work on, then we'll work on it. And eventually I'm going to say, you got to do this. I'm going to step out of life coaching into mentoring, because that's the other thing. You can do mentoring, and that's saying, okay, you need to do this, and this to set this up. So I'm not an expert. I can tell you about plumbing, but I'm not an expert. So I don't like to I'd rather call myself a life coach, because I'm not an expert on that. But I can put my mentoring hat on and say, from my experience, you need to do this, this, and this. And then they get mad. They fire me. They run off. A few years later, Rob was right. I can't come crawling back to him. I'll go find a local life coach. Well, that's fine. So yeah, I worry, and I'm going to make money at this.
So how important, I keep going back to the wives, or the significant other portion of it, but yeah, how important is it to have that significant other that is supportive, to be, I don't want to say proper, but okay, let me back up a little. How important is it to have the right partner so that you are most prepared for anything else?
It's very important, and it's not important that what it is. It's important. It's a nice benefit. I'm not going to say it's important, because you married your spouse, and it's for better or for worse. Because if you married somebody and you're thinking, okay, we've got a lot of similar interests, and then you get into prepping later on. So like if you were dating somebody, then you'd be looking, and you were a prepper, you'd look for that. But it's a matter of understanding people are who they are, and they don't change their core personality, but they can change their behavior if there's an incentive. If you can get them, let's think outside the box. Let's look at the big picture. Because the divorce rate is 50%, and it's 75% in the special needs community. So that's the way I can help. I don't want preppers to get divorced. I want them to let's figure out, because the danger. You know what? Like in the pandemic, we realized we can't just run out and find a new spouse. I mean, everything, in this world of everything's going crazy, we got to have stability and maturity, and that comes with your marriage. So work on your marriage, and when you're dating, pick somebody, have maturity, work on your immaturity with your mind, body, spirit, bank account, and take that into dating and marriage.
So you mentioned something there that I want to ask you about, and it's going to be funny because it's going to be two married men talking about it. But yeah. We have a mutual friend who has, Tori, the wandering ma. Yeah. And not just her, but let me slide back a little. So I've been to Self-Reliance Festival once. I'm going to be speaking there again this October. And a thing that John and Nicole both like to talk about is how when people go to these events, they meet either friends or significant other who might be really close to where they live, but never knew who they were.
Yeah.
And something that I think a lot of us have talked about and haven't necessarily seen it or hasn't been done in the prepper
Mm-hmm.
sphere is
Yeah.
a dating service or
Mm.
a way for,
Yeah.
you know, open-minded, preparedness, focused,
Yeah.
single
Mm-hmm.
individuals. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that would be a good idea because I have uh, played with that idea. I mean, me and Tori were talking about that, and she does the. Oh, I got to find her website. I said I
It's okay.
would
I can
mention.
find it for you if you go ahead
Oh,
and.
it's yeah, the Wandering Ma podcast because she did go to the Self Reliance Festival and she was, looking for a guy. So she and we talked about this back and forth. So I came up with an idea, and so my idea of a prepper dating service would be it's going to be more pre-Cana and like the Christian before the wedding stuff. It's going to be more like that than Tinder. And what I'm saying is there's no swiping, there's no pictures, and there's no fun. There will be lots of life coaching classes. It'll be going over all the stuff that ever went over. But with the guys, I want to work on, okay, what happened in your last relationship? And so I'm going to do free life coaching for men and women who are preppers, and then get them to be let's get on a good foundation, and let's be looking for a prepper spouse, and let's work. If you're divorced, okay, what happened in that divorce? Let's work on getting this right. So, like for my jokes that I wrote down with the ladies, I'm going to grill the guys and all that stuff. With the ladies, I want to see their iTarget Pro shooting, because iTarget Pro, you can that's the gun simulator. So I want to see their numbers on that, and then I want it like if when they took their self defense course, was there a video about them attacking the guy in the bite suit? So what? And the goal of these two corny jokes is that I want the guy. I don't want to match anybody up. The guys. I don't want guys to be jerks. I don't want ladies to be wallflowers. I want them to have a good foundation. I want to give them a good foundation to have a happy, healthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I haven't put it up on the website yet, but I'll probably just do this idea that I've run it by Tori, because she did some research also on the dating things, and we'll throw it up there, and and I'm serious now. Like I thought, okay, is this a publicity stunt? More or less, and I'm serious. It's partly a publicity stunt, but I'm going to do it, and if it generates some buzz, and if I can help one person have a better marriage, then it's worth typing this up. I got the website, find the picture, and I've got the outline to throw it up there.
Do you remember the old, what did they call it? The video dating back in the 80s and the 90s? You'd send your VHS tape in, and then I assume they made, I never got one, but I know they must have just sent out like a bunch of tapes spliced together for people, but I'd love to see it. I think we've joked about it before, but I'd love to see maybe like a speed dating session at prepper camp, because there's pretty close to 1,000 people there.
Yeah.
And Self-Reliance Festival is going to be at least 500, and I think it's going to be the biggest one yet. Mm-hmm. So it can't hurt, it's a pretty low key. Any of these are you're at least going to be talking to quote unquote friendly people, people that are at least somewhat like-minded, and you're in a, there's really nothing can go wrong there. You're going to be comfortable. And worst case, you get 5 minutes where you have a weird conversation and you move on to the next fella, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cool, because I couldn't imagine. And for those who are single out there, I could not imagine trying to play the dating game in 2023. Mm-hmm. I think it would absolutely, I can't imagine to be very enjoyable. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and that's a great idea, the speed dating, because you're in a safe place. You're with like-minded people. You're with open-minded people. It's not a bar scene. And then you've got the chance, if they did that Friday night or Saturday morning or Saturday night, we'll have to figure out when's best. And the ladies, you see, with the dating thing, the ladies, it's 2/3 guys doing this. So the ladies,
Sure.
the ladies have the ability to pick and choose, and I'm glad because I want them to be safe and to be happy, because they usually get the short end of the stick with the kids and stuff, and so that'd be great.
I like that. So who's your ideal client? Because whenever I tell anybody, whether you're making content or you're starting a handyman business, whatever it is, a person needs to look at who their ideal customer is going to be. So for you, who are the people that you want to attract into your life coaching?
Well, the people I want to attract that's a good question. I want new preppers and existing preppers. So they're both equal in the prepper life coaching. With the blue collar and family business, that would be anybody that's in a blue collar or family business, that they need life coaching too. Because when I take my life coaching classes, it's all about people in the office. It's all about corporate, and they never talk about sharpening jackhammer bits. They always talk, you're going to go make a presentation. It's never about the job site inspection meeting at the gang box or the toolbox. We call them gang boxes. They say that anymore.
Tailgate safety meetings.
And so that's so everybody needs life coaching, not just guys at your work, every work spot, every job site, every restaurant, every warehouse, every plant, they need life coaching for the guys in the field. So that would be my target audience. And then the special needs families. Now that's really the whole family, and that it's the parents, how they can get along. What about the siblings? The siblings get left out because the parents got to spend so much time on the special needs children. What about the grandparents? They don't understand autism. They don't understand. The parents, they try to do the wheat gluten-free diet, which means grandma can't give the kid a cookie or it'll throw it all off. And so yeah, I want to, and I can help with the high functioning people with autism, because they're very stressed and they're very lonely. They don't know how to act in public. And so the high functioning men and women, I can help them.
Because I had you on last time, we talked quite a bit about autism, but I mean, if you're not readily exposed to somebody who's autistic, you may not, and even if you are, you may still not know how to properly interact with them, right? So what would you say maybe are a few tips for, because I mean, it can be really difficult, I'm sure, if you have like a low functioning individual, but at least what are some tips for kind of making things a little smoother with high functioning individuals? Because I don't think we talked a ton about that last time. Yeah,
with the high functioning, you have to, you can spot the signs of they can't look you straight in the eye. And they don't really, they take things literally. They don't really understand what's going on, or they might obsessively talk about the facts from, like, they may be into movies and they may be into details about a train or details about stuff that they do. They can be very, very focused on certain topics. So if you get somebody that's very talkative, and then you might think, well, they might be on the spectrum. So just listen and nod and be polite and learn from them. They're pretty easy. The high functioning ones are pretty easy to get along with. The low functioning crowd, that's another big thing that it's a worry. I'm going to have to get some other families and start a facility for the low functioning kids, because my child needs a one-on-one aid, and the facilities here in the United States, you can't find any good help. If you get a home, a nursing home, or a facility for these kids, they want to take the kids that are stuck in a wheelchair or very compliant, because one lady or one guy can watch 4 of those kids. Our kids are all over the place. Our lower functioning, very mobile, very vocal. So if you see one of them, have mercy on them. but that's the other target. So I think that with the high functioning people, just be polite and just be welcome, make them feel at ease, and they'll do fine.
I got a question I want to ask you from Carrie.
Okay.
In just a sec, but I wanted to touch on one more thing about this, and maybe it's just personal curiosity. But did pre 1900s?
Yeah.
Did autism exist?
Well, it did. I think what happened was that it probably always did. You had and the parents just took care of the child. If the child was,
that's what I was kind of getting at.
Families, they just took. It wasn't really. And then like when the movie Rain Man came out, I mean, like the people in the 60s that were taught, the doctors that were taught in the 60s said that we were taught if you would go through your whole lifetime. It was 1 in 1,000. So of the autism. So is your question about the increase in autism? That's where
I guess I worded it wrong. What I meant was, okay. Say we're talking about maybe a modern shit hits a fan scenario.
Yeah.
So, how we like to look at the wisdom of the past, or, quote unquote wisdom. How did they kind of handle a non-functioning or low functioning autistic individual, 150 years ago? Or do we know that?
We don't really know that. We hope that, I know I saw one of them documentaries where they were going through an old house and there was this room that had a lock on it, and the young lady, I don't understand what they were doing with this room. And another older lady came up. It was for a disappointment child. So I'm getting goosebumps even talking about that.
Sure.
Because I want to think that you just, you got the kid in the corner that wears a dunce cap. We've seen the Disney cartoons. Well, that came from the 1950s, and those guys were writing those cartoons, that came from their childhood. So the kid in the corner with a dunce cap probably was, I'm glad we don't say mentally retarded anymore, but he was on the spectrum. He had he or she had Down syndrome. So that's how they did with it. They sent him to school to wear the dunce cap and sit in the corner.
That makes sense. I mean, it's not, that was their understanding at the time. It may not be right based on how we see it now, but it's the same as at one time doctors viewed washing your hands as being unhygienic, right? So,
right.
So Carrie wants to know, have you ever read much or anything by Temple Grandin? I found her work interesting on the workings of the autistic mind.
Yeah, I haven't read her books. I've heard her interviewed a few times, and she's a rock star in this, and she developed in the cattle industry. She figured out how to the hug machine that they put the cows in before their harvest, and she got that from her own weighted blanket, because as a child she would like to get under the blankets in that heavy pressure, so that influenced her. And with Temple Grandin, what was great about her parents had a little money, and then when they had parties, they made her serve drinks to work on her eye contact and her socialization. And that was very good for her.
Okay, so as you mentioned, a lot of high functioning autistic individuals can't make or have a hard time making eye contact. Is that something they can learn, or is it just not possible?
They can.
Or am I asking the wrong question?
Well, they can learn. It depends on the individual and where they are on the spectrum. My son is pretty low functioning, and but he's got good eye contact now, because what we did is he got the terrible measles, mumps, rubella shot, and he was behind on his vaccines, and so we had 3 1 month and then 3 the next month, and then he went downhill from there. But that's at 24 months is when autism comes on. So I tell all the new parents, they need all their vaccinations. You got to divide them up, because I could send anybody that wants it. There's a movie called Vaxxed. That's just search the movie called Vaxxed. There's a documentary, too painful for me to watch. So I got emotional there. What was your question? I lost it.
We were just, I guess, talking a little bit about if certain behaviors could be unlearned or relearned.
Yes. What he did is that he got with First Steps, which is a government program from age 0 to 3. So if you have a baby and the baby has Down syndrome, first steps will come to the hospital. So with first steps, he was able to do this. So some of these therapies, like applied behavioral analysis, it's based on Pavlov's law, that we just redo this drill over and over and over again. So there is lots of therapies, there is lots of help. And some of the kids we want to make them functional. We want, we want to improve them. So there's lots of progress. You can increase you can make a 50% change in their lives with therapy over a long period of time. And they probably will not be able to live on their own. The lower functioning ones, even the higher functioning ones, one of them, a professor in entomology, cannot tie her shoes or use a vending machine, but yet she was able to get a degree, and she can teach.
So being prepared, how, because you said that children, low functioning children will probably never live on their own.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare? What do you do for that child that at some point you or I or whomever would be too old to take care of them anymore?
Right.
Is there is there any advice you can offer to other people? And if it's, I didn't mean to get down here, but anyway, take it wherever you want to. Or
no, that's a very, my problem is I offer that too quick to new families. That's something to think about down the road. But what you want to do is you want to have a special needs trust, and you get life insurance policy on yourself and your spouse, and you make the special needs trust a beneficiary of that life insurance.
Okay.
Then you take your house and you have wills, and you put your will that when you die, if you both die, then the house will go into the special needs trust and to go for the child. So the money part is very easy.
Okay.
You get a giant life insurance policy, and you name the child the beneficiary. So, but it's the problem. What you have to do is you have to plan, like, who is going to take care of my child if we were both killed in a car wreck, and then if one person dies and the other person you have to always be networking with all your nieces, your nephews, your sons, your children, and your aunts and uncles, the extended family. You have to network with them and keep telling them about your child, because they might not be able to help, but their children may be able to help. Some of them may go into special ed. Some of them may, and you're going to be looking, okay, who's going to handle the money? Grandpa or Uncle Ed is great with money, so he's down to handle the money. Well, but you got to have somebody else, because Uncle Ed may retire or pass away.
Right.
You got to always be thinking about, okay, who are these people that are going to take care of your child, and you have to have something written out of all the doctors, their social security number, all their documents, all the little things that all their little ticks. Because if you were both killed in a car wreck, you need to have a roadmap on how to take care of your child. There's things that my wife and I know nobody else is going to know. They're not going to know the sign for soft drink, the sign for help, the sign for toy. And I mean, that's regular sign language, but we're working on, you got to take your child. Your goal ultimately with your child is to be as independent as possible. So take the long-term thing, like we've got a speech therapist and we're working on a talking device, because he just graduated high school. High school didn't do much for him. I mean, it went over the drills, but he's very good on the iPad. We got his new iPad out, and he said, okay, what is this? And he was ready to go on it. So just get him to be as independent as possible, and just keep on networking with family.
It's yet another version of the 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is a guarantee. Hey,
That's right. That's right.
But that's good. Thank you. I don't believe I've ever quite heard that advice anywhere.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And the last thing is that you think about when you get your prepper plans, you think, like, I have stuff, this whole house is everything in this house is ready for shit hits the fan. I got stuff. I got water. I've got stuff. I got wires in the ceiling. I've got everything is for him. So be thinking about your elder. What's going to happen if you're going to go to the nursing home, bring grandma back. What are you going to do with grandma? And just be thinking about have stuff in your compound ready for special needs. And when you bug out, just be thinking about the elderly and the children and the special needs parents and you got to be thinking of all that in your prepping plans. Sure.
Haas wants to know, Rob, do you have any regional centers where you're at, and do you work with them?
No, I don't know if the problem is now that the guy that manages our Medicaid money wanted us to go visit those places. The problem is they don't have enough help to take him. And even as a day program. So I know, yes, they're out there. They're out there. But they're understaffed. I mean, you couldn't find any good help before the pandemic, and now we have the Great Resignation, but they're out there.
Okay. Well, Brother Rob, what closing up, what any tip that we didn't catch or anything that we didn't necessarily talk about that maybe you wanted to bring up that I might have forgotten on you?
Yeah, one of the ways I was going to make money was building things in the wood shop. I thought I was going to make lots. I was going to build this stuff and people were going to drive. And my latest thing, look, I built a solar water heater and on a rolling platform and this water heater in a tub on a rolling platform. And I'm building all sorts of stuff. If you go to my website, look at the gallery page and tell your lovely prepper bride, say, look, you get in a dump truck. We're going to pull the trailer. We're going to bounce you to death, but there's an outlet mall. At exit, I don't know, I should have had the exit number ready, but there's an outlet mall in Indiana. So I'll drop you off there. I'm going to go visit with Rob and I'll come back and get you 3 hours later. So I'm trying to sell this stuff. I'm trying to build stuff. So if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky, tri-state area, I love to build something for you. I got these two great things. I'm moving into the life coaching instead of building something. To do that. But now the wife, if you're dragging your husband and he doesn't want to drive in a pickup truck, tell him that there's a sporting goods store. Now I can't remember the giant sporting goods store. Now I can't remember. It's killing my joke.
No.
Brass Pro Shop. They've got this tank. And it's 2 stories tall, and I think they're going to allow you to fish out of that thing. If you drop your husband off, I believe they're going to let you fish out of that. So go around there, and just be dropped off there with your fishing pole, your pocket fisherman, and then your wife will be back in 3 hours with the truck and a trailer to go home.
That's good advice. Absolutely, yeah. Never hurts, does it?
No, never hurts.
Well, thanks, man. So how do people follow up with you if they want to, one more quick question for you before we, have you met or do you know Jason Sparks from Kentucky Sustainable Living at all?
No, I haven't.
I will make an introduction for you then. He has quite the prepper community. He's mutual friends with me and with Chuck Peoples as well. So I think that would be really good because he's also in Kentucky. So might be somebody you could expand your horizons with. But so how do people find you, Rob? Where do they go?
I'm going to do here, I'm going to money. Yeah, it's the Prepper Life Coach, and I'm going to put that in the chat.
I got it up there for you.
You got it up there. Yeah, that's you just go to the Prepper Life Coach, and that's and everything is there. It's a resource website for new preppers, existing preppers. I've got a giant. If you can't sleep at night, you want to find a book. I mean, I've got I don't have audio books, but I got all the books from the nonfiction, the fiction, and the kids' books. So just send a scared prepper there. So that's everything's there. And then the life coaching I have, you got the life coaching tab, and underneath it, click underneath it is more life coaching. And that's the life coaching speech with the rates and everything. And also the big thing is the lady preppers. I spent a lot of work on the lady prepper section. So it's got, I got the big page. It's got all the ladies there, and I got gun ladies and homesteading ladies and regular ladies. Then underneath it, I've got a page for the survival mom and Linda Luce, the food storage mom, and
Okay.
and Erica, living rural in Idaho. And so just, got a reluctant wife, girlfriend, send them to the lady prepper section.
Sounds good, man. Well, thank you, Rob. If you want to hang in the background for just a second, I'll close up the show and I'll be right back with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I always enjoy having Rob over. It was a great conversation. It's kind of neat to be able to go into multiple areas of expertise with him, learn a bit from him about a bunch of different things, and hopefully everybody pulled something away from it, because if nothing else, the piece of advice on, being able to, work with your, not compete, but be able to get both of what you want out of a relationship was absolutely incredible. So thank you, Rob. I really appreciate you coming on. And guys, always appreciate you. What a great crowd tonight. And you guys stuck around for the whole thing. Thank you so, so much. And we will see you Thursday night. So as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.